Today we're going to talk about the wacky world of eccentric exercises.
It's not.
What? What?
It's not. But it. No.
It's eccentric and it's kind of normal and not wacky. What am I going to do with all these chinchillas? Hi, I'm Jason Pierce, and yes, today we're going to talk about eccentric movements. So every muscle contraction has two stages. It's got the concentric and eccentric phase. The concentric is when it shortens. The eccentric is when it elongates. So think about when you do a push-up. When you are pushing out, you are shortening the muscle. And when you go down, you're elongating the muscle. An easy way to remember this is concentric, contract, and then eccentric, it's got a long E, so eccentric has a long E. That's great. So essentially every time you do any sort of movement, you are doing a concentric and eccentric maneuver. So why are we going to talk about the eccentric? Well, it is something that you can do. So a lot of the focus is on the concentric part where the explosion happens, and generally that's a part of the movement that is where you're feeling the most activation of the muscles and everything. On the eccentric side, when you're just like lowering into a push-up, generally you're not doing a whole lot of work, you're just lowering and then putting on the brakes. If you slow that down though, all of a sudden you are doing work in the eccentric phase. This is called a negative. And a negative eccentric push-up, for example, all of a sudden becomes quite challenging. And it is a different way of activating the muscles. This is something you can just use periodically in your workouts just to get your muscles activated in a different way. And you can do this with anything. You can do it with curls, you can do it with pull-ups, push-ups, you can do it with squats, leg exercises in general. There's another more practical use of this eccentric phase, and that is to build up the strength to be able to do an exercise you cannot do. And the prime example of this is push-ups and pull-ups. If you practice the eccentric part of a push-up, let's just say that currently your push-ups are on your knees and you just cannot do a push-up on your toes. If you just hold a plank and then lower slowly down, that is doing a lot of work to build those muscles up that you will need to do that actual push off the ground later. So a good thing to do to build up those muscles is to get into a plank. In other words, the beginning of a push-up, lower slowly to like a 5 count if you can do it, and do that 5 times. When you get to 10 times, then you can probably try a real push-up. So you want to do it slowly and then get up however you can. You just sort of get on your knees, whatever you do to get up, because the getting up at this point is not important. It is only the lowering that's important. You'll find that after about 2 or 3 of these, you will be incredibly tired in your muscles and you might not be able to do it for a 5 count anymore. So just do it for whatever you can do, but you're really trying to focus on doing it very slowly, breathing as you do it, keeping your core tight as you do it. Another exercise this is great for is pull-ups. So if you can't do a pull-up, but you can get up to the bar, you have something you can stand on, you can get your chin over the bar and then slowly lower down. This is building the muscles up that will eventually get you to be able to do a pull-up. This one is incredibly taxing, like almost immediately. So if you do one really good, slow, like 5-second count lower and then get back up there and try it again, you'll probably only be able to get 2 seconds the second time. So this is one that you have to really build up to. Pull-ups in general are difficult. You might be able to do 50 push-ups and 10 pull-ups, and that's fine. Pull-ups are much harder than push-ups. But a way to get those muscles working so you can do a pull-up is with negatives, the eccentric phase of the movement. And so that's why eccentric movements are used a lot in training, is to build up the muscles in a different way and to help you progress in the concentric phase of the movement later. But if you already can do all these things, it's a great way to just to train and keep your muscles strong anyway, is to do these eccentric movements, because they will strengthen the muscles in a different way. And also it's fun to kind of vary what you're doing in the tempo of things anyway. Okay, some other benefits of doing eccentric training. Because you're activating the muscle for longer, it actually will grow faster when you do eccentric exercises. There's an anti-inflammatory aspect to this. When you're doing a movement slowly, your body sends anti-inflammatory signals, which actually helps keep inflammation down. When you work out, you're tearing muscles, you're doing things to your body that increase inflammation, so this is a good way to keep that in check to a certain degree. Another great benefit is that it helps you with braking. Now, not braking like snap, but like stopping, slowing. So if you do eccentric squats, you will increase your ability to stop if you're in a start-stop kind of sport, where you're sprinting and then having to stop and turn and change direction. So eccentric squats will actually help you brake more efficiently and more safely. And this all will help reduce injury, because when you are doing something that slowly, it's harder to injure yourself. So you actually can get a really good benefit from the movement with a lesser chance of injury. And another thing it does is it helps with mobility. Because you are really activating that muscle over a long period of time in the elongation phase, it actually will help you with mobility. So the concentric tends to keep the muscles tight, and the eccentric tends to keep them loose and long. So this will help with muscle mobility and limb mobility over the long term. So it's a good idea to include eccentric training in your workouts. Please like and subscribe. It makes a huge difference to the channel if you do that. Hope you enjoyed this. And as usual, stay healthy.